What is going on, everybody? It's the Frontz back again. This time it is our NXT review takeover War Games Fallout show, where for most of the night it is a bunch of recaps of what happened this past Saturday, from Lawless versus Cassius Ohno, from singles match in the night of Aleister Black and Velveteen Dream, all on the way to the War Games match. So not much there. But before we get into NXT tonight, I have a little beef to get off my chest when it comes to the chairman of the board and Vince McMahon. Justin Barrasso of Sports Illustrated has been reporting that Brock Lesnar's the match between Brock Lesnar and Finn Balor that everyone has been rumored to be happening at the Royal Rumble has not even ever been a consideration. It's been false. Whoever's come up with it, it's been a false rumor. Vince McMahon does not see anything in Finn Balor. He was never even considered for the match against Brock Lesnar. The match for Brock Lesnar at the Royal Rumble isn't even decided yet. It's up in the air. They have no idea what they're going to do. Earlier this week, it was reported that Vince McMahon may have soured on Balor for the match, and plans for the Royal Rumble title match are up in the air. Also notes a source said Vince McMahon sees Balor as bland. The former longest reigning NXT champion of all time, as a bland superstar when he's not the Demon King. The report noted Balor could be seen as transitioning into a newer version of Dolph Ziggler, where he has great matches but isn't rewarded with a main event spot, and the office doesn't have faith in him in that role. So Vince McMahon, who last year, in his first month on the main roster, gave Finn Balor the nod to be the first, and get the distinction as being the first Universal Champion. And yes, injuries happen, but you went from this guy being the first ever Universal Champion to, oh, he's bland, he's going to be a new Dolph Ziggler. Are you kidding me? This guy put NXT on his back during the first height, and was the longest reigning NXT champion until, of course, Asuka recently, but he's the longest reigning NXT men's champion of all time. And you're going to say this guy is nothing but a bland superstar? This guy Vince McMahon needs to go. This piece of garbage thinks he knows what a good match is, what a good wrestler is. Vince, listen to your fans. You already ruined Shinsuke Nakamura on NXT, on SmackDown Live. You're ruining Bobby Roode too by keeping him as a babyface. You take Finn Balor now and make him and say he's a bland superstar. The guy is going to be a new Dolph Ziggler in your eyes. Screw you, Vince. How dare you? This guy did so much for you guys in NXT, and he could have been the next big thing for you, but instead you're like, nope, this guy's going to be a bland superstar. Bro, it has to be Roman Reigns. Everything has to be Roman Reigns. Are you out of your mind? I really hope that Philadelphia boos Roman out of the building, because I swear it's going to be so much fun watching and laughing and seeing how bad everything that you've done from Roman Reigns has fallen on his face. Who should be Intercontinental Champion right now? I think Finn Balor should be Intercontinental Champion. Hold it for a while, be done. And as soon as your little experiment with Roman Reigns fails, as it always has and always will, he takes the title off of him. Have that little connection between where Finn Balor beat Roman Reigns to go to SummerSlam last year, and make it so, hey, you didn't beat me last time, so I'm going to beat you, and he ends up taking the title off of Roman Reigns. But this is how Vince McMahon feels. Vince, get the hell out of WWE, because you're just ruining it from the inside. I know Vince McMahon wants to die, wants to actually die while writing for WWE. Vince McMahon doesn't want to go. He doesn't want to retire. He wants to die in his office while he's working on. But this has gone far enough. Shinsuke's ruined. Balor's ruined. Bayley was ruined. Asuka's on her way to being ruined. I guarantee Dana Brooke's going to be the one who rolls her up on from a distraction for 1, 2, 3, and oh my god, and Asuka's destroyed. Sasha Banks, Charlotte, everybody has been ruined. Tonight during the NXT tonight, they showed the advertisement for that NXT, the best of NXT, where they showed all the big stars who have come into NXT. Every single one of them have been ruined, buried, and broken to where they can't be recovered. Kevin Owens, yes, came out of it, and he was at one time the Universal Champion, Intercontinental Champion, U.S. Champion. Now they have him being a guy who gets on his hands and knees and begs not to be fired by Daniel Bryan. I just don't get why Vince McMahon is even allowed in power anymore. There are things called shareholders he has to answer to. Why do they keep him in power? Just look at NXT this past week. It took War Games, the War Games match itself, and don't tell me it was any other reason. It took the War Games match itself for Vince McMahon to go, well, SummerSlam looks like crap. We need to change this. Yes, the only match at SummerSlam that was really worth anything, well, there was 3. There was the New Day versus the Shield, the Bar versus the Usos, and the AJ Styles versus Brock Lesnar match. Other than that pay-per-view was god-awful. Everything else was god-awful. So, Vince McMahon wants to try and make Survivor Series better so he can't be outdone by Triple H again. If I'm a shareholder, if I was somebody who had a say in who runs WWE, Vince McMahon's not running WWE anymore. Triple H would be running WWE. Triple H would be able to do what let his vision go. It's got to be eating him up inside. Triple H, it's got to be eating him up inside to see everybody he builds up as big deals come to the main roster and get buried. Every single one of them. Name me one person who hasn't been buried at one time or another, almost buried to where they don't even matter anymore. Look at Bayley. Now I could say, like, towards Survivor Series, and now Bayley has gotten a little bit better, but she's still nowhere near she was when she came to Monday Night Raw. The night Bayley debuted on Monday Night Raw after SummerSlam last year, biggest pop of the night, biggest pop of the year at that time. Now she barely gets a reaction. How do you screw that up? Bayley was being touted as the next John Cena, the female John Cena. And what did you do? You threw it away. Shinsuke Nakamura, same thing. Bobby Roode, same thing. This is getting out of hand. I just want Triple H to do something about it. Stop letting your creations be like your creations, the things that you helped nurture and make relevant for us. Don't give me that, oh, what works in NXT doesn't work on the main roster. That's bull. Not like 50% to 75% of the people who watch WWE's Raw and SmackDown know who comes up from NXT. I am just sick and tired of all of this, and something needs to change. If Vince McMahon doesn't get taken out of power soon, WWE will not be around much longer. I don't care what anyone said, like anybody who's like, oh, they're making all the money they can right now. They had to cut everything. They cut Pyro. They cut like half the shows on the WWE Network. They cut costs everywhere. That is not a successful business. Making money and then like losing money but cutting everything that you can so it looks like you made a profit, that's not a good business model at all. If you have to cut half of what you do to make a profit, that's a bad sign for WWE. And Dave Meltzer has reported, it was a couple months ago, if it wasn't for the USA Network TV deal, WWE would be owing money to a lot of people. So think about that when you say that just trust the process and trust everything, and Vince McMahon knows what he's doing, because he doesn't. He doesn't anymore. How is it that NXT gets everything right? Yes, okay, I can't say everything, but they get most things right. How do they get most things right and WWE's Raw and SmackDown gets absolutely nothing right? There was a lot of hype going into Survivor Series, even though I didn't think it was that much of a must-see show, but it fell flat towards the end of the night. Because it wasn't about the new stars, it was all about John Cena, Kurt Angle, Shane McMahon, Triple H. And Braun Strowman was there, but he didn't really do much. That was it. Randy Orton was out, but when it came down to it, it was Braun Strowman was there with Triple H, Kurt Angle, Shane, and it was about Kurt Angle, Triple H. That was it. I honestly don't understand how Vince McMahon can just invest in Triple H more than he would a Bobby Roode or Shinsuke Nakamura. If Strowman would have went out there and dominated half of that field, I would have been fine with it. Now I'm looking back on it, it's like, why? Triple H should not wrestle another match for the WWE. He needs to stay down at Full Sail, work on his brand, build his brand up, and then kick the door down and take WWE over, because Vince McMahon has got to go. Enough of that. Tonight was not much of a show. It is the stuff that got taped before our last takeover, which was War Games. We had 2 matches on this night. We had the 2 recent call-ups of Sonya Deville and Ruby Riott going one-on-one, and then Dunne Gargano versus Pete Dunne, which, if I have to say, was an excellent match. We had Sonya Deville and Ruby Riott, which I didn't mention this yesterday, but Ruby Riott has been a babyface her entire run of NXT. So it doesn't make any sense why they brought her up and turned her heel. It makes no sense to me why they did that. But that's neither here nor there. Halfway through the match, it was like Sonya Deville started working on the recently healed ankle of Ruby Riott, which did not look like it was hurting her too much yesterday, if I may say so. The end of the match came when Ruby Riott was clinched in the ankle lock. You know, when they had the ankle lock and they go down. She actually pulled herself to the ropes, and she got to the ropes. You could actually hear her screaming in agony, "Get her off me, get her off me." Sonya Deville gets off of her, goes to the referee, and starts arguing she should have won this match. Turns back to Ruby Riott, goes and gets that jumping Pele overhead kick, or whatever they want to call it, and she gets the 1, 2, 3. So if you missed this match, nothing to see. But it was these two women's last match in NXT. So I'm looking forward to seeing what NXT does with its women's division, since 2 of the 5 that were brought up have been like semi-mainstays in NXT over the last few months, I should say. A lot of highlights. They did give us 2 matches that will be happening next week with the Street Profits versus Moss and Sabatelli, which they need a name. Why don't you just call them the Rich Guys, because they want to talk about how rich they are. So the Street Profits versus the Rich Guys, that's what I'm going to call them until they get a name. And also we will have Kairi Sane versus Peyton Royce, which would be an interesting match in my opinion. I'm still kind of disappointed that Peyton Royce and Billie Kay weren't called up after all they've gone through, how long they've been down in NXT. I would have figured they would have been up before half of the people, most of the women who were brought up, which I believe it was Ryan Satin or someone noted that Vince McMahon felt that the women's division on Raw and SmackDown was stale, and that's why they brought up 5 women and brought Paige back as well, which I say to that, if you would have did the draft right and put all the women on one brand, it wouldn't have been as stale. Yes, it's going to get stale when you have 6 women on one and 5 on the other, and they're arguing all over the same title. That's going to get stale. I will say that making this a little bit bigger is not really going to help this thing at all, especially since the only ones that have the only one who really has any seasoning at all is Ruby Riott. Paige, of course, on Raw, she's been there, she's done that, she knows what she's doing. But of the 6 that showed up this Monday and Tuesday, Paige and Ruby Riott are the only 2, in my opinion, that add any depth. The other 4 are just going to be cast away and be the Emmas, Emma before she got released, Dana Brooks, or Alicia Fox before she went and complained to Lillian Garcia. They did have a recap of the War Games match where they showed a couple audience members stoked, excited, happy, and everything else, getting all these cool and different camera angles from the match, which were really pretty cool. I thought that was a really cool thing for them to do. I can't wait to see another War Games match. I just hope it isn't going to be until at least next Survivor Series in Los Angeles. I don't want to be like we get to like WrestleMania weekend or whatever they're going to do or the dual branded pay-per-view Money in the Bank, which means we will probably see a War Games match, not a War Games, but an NXT TakeOver before Money in the Bank, because we are going to have 5 dual brand pay-per-views next year with Rumble, Mania, Money in the Bank, SummerSlam, and Survivor Series, which since the brand split, everybody said we should have had Money in the Bank be a dual branded pay-per-view. So, and a question I have for the Money in the Bank is going to be, will we see 4 Money in the Bank ladder matches with one for each men's side and 1 for each women's side, or will we have a Money in the Bank ladder match where it's like 4-on-4 for men and 4-on-4 for women from each brand, and the winners get to decide? This would be, I'm going to do this for a minute. This would be interesting for that Money in the Bank. If you have the winner, we have one Money in the Bank match with both brand superstars. The winners of the match can decide which title they want to go for. It would add a little bit of intrigue because it's like, this person with the Money in the Bank can show up on Raw and win the title and be exclusive to Raw, or they could show up on the SmackDown pay-per-view or show, cash in, and come to SmackDown. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Let me know in the comment section below. Then we had UK Championship Pete Dunne versus Johnny Gargano. The crowd was hot for this match. Like, they didn't even have to touch, and the crowd wanted this match. This match was hard-hitting. This match was amazing. This match was awesome. If you have not seen this match yet and you got the WWE Network, you need to see Pete Dunne versus Johnny Gargano. Did it top Pete Dunne versus Tyler Bate from Chicago? No. Nothing's going to top that one. That's match of the year. Hands down. AJ Styles versus Brock Lesnar gave it a run for its money, but I still say Pete Dunne versus Tyler Bate. But this was a good match. There was towards the end of the match, Johnny Gargano got Pete Dunne in his submission hold. I can't remember what they call it, the Johnny No Escape or whatever it is. Pete Dunne, who usually was his mouthpiece, actually with his free hand pulled his mouthpiece out of his mouth and took a bite out of Johnny Gargano's finger. Johnny Gargano gets back up, sees the fact, like, after, I believe, Pete Dunne tried like 3 times for the bitter end. The first 2 times he got rolled up for a 2 count. Johnny Gargano got a 2 count. Johnny Gargano grabs Pete Dunne's mouthpiece and is looking at it with this look in the eyes like, throws it up in the air and hits Pete Dunne with a nasty super kick to the face for a 2 count. Finish of the match comes where Gargano goes to the outside to try and do either slingshot spear or a slingshot DDT to Dunne. Dunne moves out of the way, hits him with a nice forearm to the face, picks him up for the bitter end. 1, 2, 3. That's the end of the match. And Pete Dunne and Johnny Gargano put on a great match that, in my opinion, I would have rather seen on it. It's like NXT TakeOver War Games didn't need any more excitement. This match would have just probably like blew the roof off of Houston with how much they had. But this match was a great match. So once again, I recommend anybody who hasn't seen Pete Dunne versus Johnny Gargano yet, I know it just aired on the WWE Network, go watch this match. Watch it again if you must. And after the match, Johnny Gargano, of course, is down outside. He rolled out of the ring, and he just has this distraught look on his face like he just can't get the job done. I'm hoping when Tommaso Ciampa does come back, we will have him play into Johnny Gargano's emotions that Johnny Gargano by himself can't get the job done. As we have seen over and over, Johnny Gargano just loses a match here and there. He just can't seem to gets what he needs to. Now, tomorrow, I'm pretty sure, or the next day, we will see there will be the tapings for the next 4 weeks, or probably the end of the year, tapings for NXT going on from Full Sail, and then I know next month, and then like in January, I do know they won't be at Full Sail. They'll be going somewhere else. I think it's after Philadelphia, which is a long way off. We have a long way to go, and this is one of the reasons I love NXT, and the fact that they only have 5 specials each year. They don't have one every month. The only time that they came close to this was when they had that 2-month between the NXT TakeOver in December and the NXT TakeOver, I think it was Rival. I believe it was Rival, the one that was in February when Kevin Owens took the title off of Sami Zayn. That was the closest ones they've had together in a long time, I believe. Yeah, something like that. And people were wondering how they were going to be able to pull off a 2-month span. Now they have this even. They have this more spread out. I mean, you have Mania. They had Chicago this year, which I believe was in May. Then they had SummerSlam. They had Brooklyn 3. They had Survivor Series. They'll have Rumble. They'll have Mania. Money in the Bank will probably get a takeover as well because it's a dual branded pay per view. We'll have Brooklyn 4 if they're still in Brooklyn, which I'm sure they are, and then we'll have TakeOver Los Angeles next year. I'm looking forward to what NXT has to come because NXT is in good hands. I have absolutely no faith in the main roster. Until Vince McMahon is out of power, I have absolutely no faith in the main roster. If it wasn't for NXT, and this is one of the most truest things I could say, if it wasn't for NXT, I wouldn't be watching WWE anymore. There's always that hope when somebody comes from NXT, of course, except for minus what they've done this past week with the women's, because WWE doesn't know how to handle the women's division up in the main roster, so I have no faith in that. There's always hope that when somebody comes up from NXT, that they will get the treatment they deserve and they've earned. Yes, it's more disappointing than not. Kevin Owens, of course, has until recently with the whole way they've done the Sami Zayn turn, he was looking like he was going to be a big deal. Now they have him begging for his job. But Bobby Roode's going to be ruined. Baron Corbin took a year, and they screwed him up when he won the Money in the Bank and took it off of him. They haven't done anything with anybody. Asuka, they had the damage control with the way they did Emma. They now have her doing what they should have did and having her just beat everybody. Heck, the match she had with Dana Brooke this past Monday should have been her debut at TLC. But that's going to be your NXT the TakeOver Fallout review. We will be back here on Monday for Raw, Tuesday for SmackDown, Wednesday for NXT, which I'm looking forward to to Peyton Royce versus Kairi Sane and the Street Profits versus the rich guys. Tito Sabatelli and Big Moss. I'm going to call them the rich fellas or the rich guys because I like tag teams with names. I don't want to just be like Sheamus and Cesaro. I like The Bar or Sabatelli and Big Moss. I'd like to call them something else, so I'm going to call them the rich guys. Like, I don't understand why it just can't be like, well, we're going to have this tag team. Let's come up with a name before they make their debut. But I'm flapping my gums here. Not much to see here. All you have to see for this NXT is the last 20 minutes of the show when Pete Dunne takes on Gargano, and Gargano comes very close, in my opinion. He took Pete Dunne to his limits. It looked like Pete Dunne looked more vulnerable than I think I've ever seen Pete Dunne. And I've seen Pete Dunne before WWE. I saw Pete Dunne in What Culture Pro Wrestling, which is now going to be called Defiant Wrestling. This guy is a good worker, and this is the most I've seen him look like he could be beaten. So make sure to follow me on Twitter at TheFront. Follow me on Twitch at JFront, at twitch.tv/TheFront08, and make sure to hit that subscribe button and share with everybody that you know. I'll be back next time, and I will see you later. Have a good one.